Good morning, Laya, and welcome to the Low Carb Paleo Show.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
Good morning, Mark.
Good morning.
How's England doing with you?
It's suffering me nicely.
Yeah?
It'll be pleased when I go back home, I'm sure, but there we go.
Yeah. Well, good. So everyone is happy. Everything's good here. We have had big storms past few days. It's supposed to come down tomorrow, but we're good. We survived. Okay, so Laya,
Yes.
you and I met at the 2018 Paleo FX event in Austin.
Yes.
Really liked
Wonderful.
your broth, and I invited you, and here you are.
Thank you. We're very happy to be here.
Absolutely, it's our pleasure. Every time, you may remember I'm a chef, so every time I taste something good, I want to talk about it.
That is the best compliment that we could get from chefs.
So you are the co-founder of BrothMasters with your mom, Dorothy.
Mm-hmm.
I was under the impression your dad was involved because I saw him there at the show.
Yeah, so it sort of started as my mom and I'm the one that actually, sort of pushed my mother to start cooking the broth and starting a business out of it. I sort of wrote up the business plan, and my father is an engineer, and so he started sort of working with us, and he's been engineering different ways of making everything more efficient in the kitchen, and he's so passionate about the broth as well, so he's been working with us. And then my little brother, who is there also, he's been our sort of shipping department at this point.
So it's a family business.
It's a full family affair now, yeah.
Great, great, great. So speaking of your background, how did you decide to develop eating broth? Can you tell your backstory?
Yeah, absolutely. So it originally started probably around 6 years ago now, where I'm a choreographer and a dancer here in New York, and I suffered a major ankle injury that I had to have surgery for. And since I was 15 years old, I've had Crohn's and colitis. And when I went in for surgery that first time, it caused a very serious flare-up in my Crohn's disease. So I started seeing a lot of different integrative doctors, and when I was a kid and they put me on prednisone, it really destroyed a lot of my thyroid and other things in my body. So I sort of said, I'm never going to do that again to myself. And my family's always been very much healing through food. So I started doing a little bit of research on anti-inflammatory foods for Crohn's disease, and there wasn't much at the time about bone broth, but I did come across a few blogs about bone broth and how the anti-inflammatory effects of it really do help with Crohn's disease and help it calm down. And the gelatin in it, the collagen, helps kind of heal and seal the lining of the gut. So I spoke with my mother about it, who was also doing a lot of research, and I sort of said, she's the real chef in the family. I live in my New York City apartment, and to cook something for 48 hours when I'm, it seems scarier in New York City to cook something for 48 hours, leave your stove on. And so, she said, okay, you know what, I'm going to start making this and shipping it to you overnight from Michigan. So she's the amazing mother that she is. She started shipping me the bone broth overnight. And it was sort of the one thing that really helped me. I've been in remission now for 4 years for my Crohn's. It helped calm my gut down. And when it helped me so much, we sort of said, she has always wanted to heal the world. And she was like, I really feel like we have a product here that could help other people, with inflammatory issues like you had. And it was sort of a in passing conversation until one day I thought, you know what? Why can't we really try this out? When, the New York Times did an article about bone broth, and I was like, okay, something's happening here. People might understand what this is, because, for chefs, I feel like you guys know about bone broth forever, but for the masses, bone broth sounded just like, what is that? So.
Great. So tell us what makes your broth extra special compared to the competition.
Well, the first thing is my mother. She is the one that is still making all of our broth in our commercial kitchen in Michigan. She has worked with a food scientist at Louisiana State University that helped her understand how to not overcook the bones, not overcook the vegetables, to still get the anti-inflammatory properties out of things like the garlic, to not overcook those things. So you're still getting the nutrients and the flavors out of that. And we're using a mix of both the beef bones and the chicken bones combined. So we do have a just chicken broth, but our original is the beef and chicken combined, which gives us a lot more nutrients in our broth as well. So not only is she taking more steps to get flavor out of all the vegetables and everything, the way that she is processing everything back into the broth before we cool it and package it. So you're getting those richer flavors. She's also using both the bones so that it doesn't have like such a strong beef flavor. Some people can't handle that flavor. And that chicken flavor gives it like a little bit lighter of a flavor. And it's also giving us, the 14 grams of protein per cup, and then the 300 milligrams of calcium, which is the highest that's on the market at 30% of your daily calcium intake in 1 cup. So, especially for women and people with, bone loss issues or arthritis, or women that are in their 20s even that are starting to lose their bone mass early on, getting calcium from food is really important, especially now that they're saying that, calcium supplements could cause some sort of like heart disease issues. So to get it through food, to get anything through food is better than getting it through any kind of pill. So, this is really giving you that added bonus. So.
Great. So we already established it's good for Crohn's and IBS and probably leaky gut as well.
Yep, absolutely leaky gut.
Okay. So, and we already established as well it's good for bones, calcium absorption, which is a lot easier to the broth. And what about joints?
So specifically for me, I'm a dancer. I've had I've had 3 ankle surgeries actually at this point. And the last one, they had to take cartilage from my knee and put it into my ankle. And after that last surgery, we had been doing the bone broth now for a while. So I got right on the bone broth after the major surgery that I had 3 years ago. And when I went back to the doctor after a month of healing and drinking the broth every day, they did an MRI on my ankle, and they said they'd never seen anything heal so fast as they did mine. Now, it could be really anything, but the only thing that I did different this time was I got on the bone broth right away, and I started doing that. Outside of that, we've had people that, we have one testimonial on our website that a younger guy, 25, he'd been having issues with his knees, joint issues. And he was a little bit skeptical of the bone broth and how that works. But he said, I'm going to try this for a few weeks, doing like a cup a day or 2 cups a day, and see if it does anything different. And after 2 weeks, he didn't notice such a difference. But he said after the 3rd week of being on it consistently, he noticed that his knee pain started to go away. And he was able, after a month, to start doing more in the gym than he was able to do in the last few years. So when we see stuff like that happening, we can kind of start to understand a little bit more about what it can do for your joints. And like anything, you have to do it consistently. If you're doing something that's a little bit more alternative or food-based as a helping healing tool, then you sort of have to stick with it for a while to see the long-term effects of it. But we have seen a lot of people, runners that have knee pain, that get on the bone broth and say that, after a few weeks, the knee pain goes away. So it can definitely help with the joints.
So without making any health claim, you know how the FDA goes about that.
Oh, yeah.
Would you say that taking a cup of bone broth would help older people with their joints, arthritis, and maybe even osteoarthritis? Because it not only the collagen and the gelatin, but also the anti-inflammatory properties, right?
Exactly. Yeah. So, there is no one-stop shop for, healing these things through food. Obviously, there's no claim on medicinally that it is the thing that can help you, but it does have high amounts of protein. It is extremely soluble for the system. It has a ton of the collagen and the gelatin that does help joints and just bodies in general. And then, we tested our bone broth and found that it has the sulfated glucosaminoglycans in it, which does help for anti-inflammatory. So whether or not it's going to do everything for you, we're not claiming that, but if anything, it's an extremely healthy food for you, and we are taking the extra steps to try to get the anti-inflammatory properties out of the garlic, out of the vegetables that we're putting in there, so that you are able to absorb all of those nutrients. And it's obviously extremely soluble because it is in liquid form. So
right. So it just reminded me of when I was a kid. I used to read how would you call that, Mark? Asterix and Obelix.
Yeah, it's a comic book, really.
Comic books, and then the healer had a magic potion, right?
Yeah.
Have you read that? So, and then and the magic potion made everyone super strong, and they could kick the Romans' butts and things like that. So
that's so funny.
That could be your magic potion right there.
I'll say my mother, her energy, just in life in general, I believe that she just puts her everything into making this soup. So, right. If anything, there's that powerful energy that she puts in there that somehow I just think makes it that much more special. So, like, but that's just movie. Me, and that's my mom.
I think he was called Get a Fix, wasn't
he? Right. Have you seen the movie Like Water for Chocolate?
Yes, exactly. Okay. Same. So
right, when she cries, everybody cries, right?
Exactly.
She cries into the food, and then everybody that eats it starts crying.
She's happy, and everyone's happy. So, yeah.
So back to the process. Can you explain the process? What makes it so special compared again to the competition?
So I think also what we're doing right now. A lot of other companies, and it's fair that people want to grow their companies and scale their businesses. And so a lot of people are doing co-packing process now. And so they're either taking out a lot of like steps that they used to do when they first started their companies, or they're cooking the broth for a lot less time. So I've noticed a lot of the other companies are only cooking their bone broth now for up to 24 hours. We are still doing it 48 hours. And, we've sort of had this conversation many times that no matter how large the company grows, the one thing that we really want to stick to is the value that we put into this broth, and we don't want to compromise the 48 hours and the amount of effort we put into making it something that is actually for use for people to try to help their bodies in their healing process, whatever that might be. Not that it's going to cure all these things, but the more healthy that we can make it, the more we put into that process of extracting all of the collagen from the bones, that doing it for the 48 hours, getting more of the benefits from that is really important to us. So, a lot of other companies are also either cooking at a very high heat and then packaging it right away so that they can make it shelf stable, or they are flash freezing it, or they are irradiating it to make it shelf stable. And we're still doing it frozen. We cook it, we cool it, we package it, and we freeze it right from there. So you might only be able to use it in the freezer for a year, but by flash making it cooking it at very high temperatures and then packaging it right away kills off a lot of the properties that we're trying to maintain. So a lot of those kinds of things that, you know, you want to maintain in even just the properties of the garlic or the onions, if you cook them at such high temperatures, then it's killing off what we want to preserve. So,
Right.
you know, we've just kind of dedicated ourselves to saying we know we have this amazing tasting product, and we know that people have written us how much it's helped them through different things, and we just don't want to compromise on that. We want to just grow organically and continue to make it the exact same way so it's consistent throughout the span of our company.
Right, so the longer cooking process at lower temperature extracts more protein, more calcium. And another benefit we forgot to mention is the amount of protein helps you to have stronger nail, shinier hair, stronger hair, shinier hair.
That's...
And, you know, we can tell looking at you. Your hair looks beautiful.
Thank you. Yeah, that's the one thing. When I first started drinking the broth, actually, I noticed that my nail beds were growing in much thicker and stronger. And that was one thing I told my mom. I never had really thick, strong nail beds. And that was one thing that I noticed when I'm drinking the broth really consistently, that they grow back really fast when I cut them. So that was one thing. And then also for Crohn's patients, and I'm sure other issues that have like inflammation issues, but at least I know for Crohn's, because I have Crohn's, is that for Crohn's patients, it's very hard to digest proteins, and it's hard for the body to break down proteins. So the more soluble that you can get a protein to that, you know, it's 14 grams in 1 cup. I usually do 2 cups in a day. That's 28 grams of protein. That's just very easily absorbed into my system. So, you know, that's one thing that we've noticed. And then, you know, we've also had a bunch of people that have written us sort of on the other end of the spectrum, a lot of cancer patients going through chemo. Obviously, it's not going to cure cancer by any means, but a lot of people say that it's the one thing that they can consume that doesn't make them nauseous, and that they can, you know, still get the nutrients that they need without having to try to force other food down their throats, because they just can't physically eat a lot of food when they're going through treatments. And obviously, if you're going through very intense treatments, you need to nourish your body to be able to help fight whatever you're fighting. So we've had some incredible emails from people that have just, you know, one recently last week, a 17-year-old boy with leukemia, his mother wrote us and said, you know, I really wanted to thank you, you know, for the broth that we had. It was the one thing that he could eat throughout his, you know, process, and I do believe that helped in his healing process, and he is now in remission. So obviously, it's not the bone broth that did that, but, you know, just to even help the process along the way to keep the body strong and healthy, then that's, you know, unbelievable to us to hear. So,
right. I give you a free business idea. Put it in drip bags for hospitals.
Yeah, we're actually talking to someone we met at the Paleo show that is trying to develop that whole concept. So his name is Calvin Ballister. He wrote the Feed the Brain book that was at the Paleo show, and you know, he has a whole amazing story in itself. But he's, you know, wants to partner with people to do stuff like that. It would just, you know, it's a whole nother process of getting your product out there, but it would be unbelievable if we could do to help people going through that kind of thing for us.
Absolute sense, yes.
It goes with our whole mission statement.
Right. And can you tell us about the events that you have been or you are coming up?
Yep, we just this weekend did a show in Brooklyn at the Brooklyn Expo Center called the Well Summit. It was a lot of different integrative health professionals that all came together. And then in November 5th, the weekend of November 5th and 6th, we're doing the Naval Expo here in Manhattan, which is at the Sheraton Hotel in Midtown. And that, again, is a lot of integrative doctors and practitioners, and they have a ton of speakers, and it's also an amazing show. We've done that 3 times in the last few years, so we're doing this our 4th time with them. And then we are doing in February the Integrative Healthcare Symposium, which is a huge show at the Hilton Hotel, also with incredible speakers, all sorts of doctors and acupuncturists and different integrative healers that come to that show. And you meet all these different types of integrative wellness, and it's really just an amazing community to be a part of. So those are the ones we have coming up so far. Possibly the Paleo show again in April. So we did the Paleo show last year, which is where we met you guys. And we're doing a lot of tastings around New York, and starting to work a little bit with hospitals. We have in Beaumont Hospital in Michigan, they sort of put on their what to do when you're going through chemo or their gut health stuff. They put to get BrothMasters bone broth to help through those processes. So it's interesting.
Great. Obviously, you're becoming more and more successful. You have a great product, should be. What I do once, if I'm tired, I'm not in the mood to cook, I'll put some of your broth in my high-speed blender. I'll add some vegetables. I'll blend until it's hot, and then that's it. That's my dinner. Yeah,
it's amazing. I mean, I also living in New York. I'm tired. I come home from the day running around. I'll throw some quinoa in there, some vegetables from the night before, and it's a meal. So
yeah, and it's a quick one. So.
And coming from a chef, that means everything.
Right. Yeah, sometimes I feel like just having a soup, it's also kind of a cleanser at the same time,
Yeah.
Because it alkalinizes your body as well, right? Especially if you throw extra vegetables in there.
Yeah, absolutely. And, it feels really healthy. It feels really clean, and you're getting all the nutrients that you need, even more so than you would out of like a massive meal of chicken and this and that.
Right.
So
liquid nourishment.
Yeah, I drink it as a coffee sometimes, just in the morning, throw it in a teacup, and it's very satisfying.
That would be the perfect paleo drink in the morning, for sure.
It really is. It gives you energy. It gives your bloodstream right away that extra boost that you need, and it keeps you full kind of through the morning, and it's great.
My opinion, it would be a lot better than this bulletproof coffee. It's just
I haven't gotten so into the bulletproof coffee, but for me, and I know a lot of people that switched out their coffee with bone broth in the morning, and it kind of picks you up right away. So
can you remind us where we can find information about your products?
Yes, absolutely. Everything we do is all sold online. Everything ships frozen nationwide in the United States, outside of Alaska. So they come in 16-ounce pouches like so. This one's a little frozen. Come in 16-ounce pouches like so. They're found at our website, BrothMasters.com. So that's BrothMasters.com. And there is a $10 off code on the website that you can use for your first order. And then we always do, if you want to sign up for our newsletters, we do a lot of things around the holidays where you can get an extra percentage off of an order. Or, some days we have a special that week for different holidays that you can get another $15 off or something. And then every time we do a show, we do a $20 off special. So if you're in New York and you're at any of the shows, then you should definitely stop by and come see us for that.
By the way, I posted one of your recipes to my 40,000 followers yesterday. So
oh, amazing. Where was that, on your website? Or
all my social media, Facebook, LinkedIn. LinkedIn, I have about 20,000 chef followers, so maybe that'll give them some ideas.
Thank you so much.
Sure,
and then we're our tagline is at BrothMasters on Instagram and Facebook as well. So we'd be happy to share some of these.
And so what I'm getting is that you're not selling retail.
So we are talking about that now. Right now, we're direct to consumer. So everything that we sell is all online and ships directly to you.
Right.
We're in the process right now of possibly building out a new kitchen where we will get a different licensing to distribute wholesale. So
Awesome.
that is coming in the future, but right now we're still a small family business.
Right.
You know, we're still making everything on our own and growing nice and slow. So trying to get the product out there and talking to people like you and meeting people at the paleo shows and the integrative health shows and getting the word out a lot more, like business to business and
Right.
word of mouth.
Personally, from my own experience, don't rush into things.
Yeah, no, we are not.
Going wholesale and retail distribution is a whole different nightmare.
Yes,
So,
we've
yeah,
heard that from actually people we spoke to at the paleo show that are going through that heartache right now. So, you know, at the moment, we're really, you know, trying to get our product out there because we really want to help people. And we really feel like we have this product that is great for people, but you know, we're doing it like a slow and steady wins the race kind of thing. So we don't compromise our product and we don't compromise how we do things and we don't get overloaded that we can't get our product to our people. So
you probably already know that, but whatever you do, don't mess with the recipe. This
never.
is your,
never,
besides,
never.
there's only so many moms, right?
There's only so many moms.
There's only one mom, unless your mom hires other moms to help her in the kitchen.
Yeah, well, it's you know, it's something that we've talked about, you know, not having a co-packer, but you know, teaching some people that we could bring on our team, you know, exactly her process and making it so that it is really important to us to keep that process, to keep the flavor, to keep how we do it. And so, you know, if we end up growing a little bit more, we want to, you know, she also would like to be able to take vacation when she wants or go out of town. And I'm always like, but you have to get in the kitchen and make the broth. So, you know, to alleviate some of that. I mean,
she obviously didn't know what she didn't know what she was getting herself into when she started this, right?
Sometimes
slavery in the kitchen.
But you know, honestly, it's really become such a passion for her. It's almost like she just loves to even watch the broth and how it simmers and see how that process is. And you know, she's always wanted to do something bigger than herself. And you know, she's built an amazing appliance company with my father, and that's something they did throughout their lives. But this is a real passion project for her. And so, you know, just the fact that when people write us reviews or just send me personal emails that tell us their story of how the broth affected them or helped them, you know, those are the things that make her her heart explode and make her want to do this even more and you know, have a charitable aspect to it at some point when we grow a little bit more and you know, just do some good in this world. So you know, she's very passionate about it.
She's like a good witch watching over the cauldron.
Exactly. That's what we always call her. You're reading our minds over here. That's what we call her.
Your turn.
Me again already. Gosh, quick. You say you're never going to go less than 48 hours. Was it exactly 48 hours, or is it 48 hours and a bit depending on flavor?
It's 48 hours and a bit depending on, you know, when they get to the kitchen that day. So, you know, it's always over 48 hours. Give or take a few hours here. It could be a little bit more. But, you know, 48 hours is where we want to keep it at least.
And quite low temperatures, you said as well.
Yes, it's a very slow simmer, slow and low, and so that you're not overcooking anything, overheating it, that you're really extracting all of the collagen from the marrow bones and all of that's in the broth, and getting all the calcium out and the potassium that we have with that, and the protein with that slow simmer, slow and low is how we extract all of that.
Super. Now, how do you source your bones? Are they sort of from grass-fed beef and that sort of thing?
Yep. So we have 2 organic farms that we partnered with in Michigan, where we source all of our grass-fed beef bones and then our pasture-raised chicken bones. And they're both organic farms where we get everything from. And then all the vegetables are also organic that we get from there too.
Okay, super job. Because we interviewed Alan. We interviewed a couple of guys who've got grass-fed herds and so forth. Were they in Michigan, or were they sort of further over?
No, the one with, well, there's one in Portland, and the other one is in Georgia.
Okay, right.
White Oak Farms.
Okay.
Yeah, and there was another one in California too. I'll have to look it up.
Cool.
But obviously, you have your own sources, so
Yeah. We've been working with them for a few years now. So
Excellent. So you said you started out as a dancer and you got switched onto this when you had an ankle injury.
yes, still am a choreographer in New York City.
Okay, what's your favorite type of dance, just out of interest?
So I'm mostly a hip hop choreographer, actually.
Okay.
Yeah. Go figure.
you need to teach us some moves.
Yeah.
If we don't break some bones.
That's for another
Another interview, yeah, because Alan and I both like salsa, so
Oh, very cool, yeah.
quite keen dancers. That was just a personal interest thing, really.
Yeah.
Excellent. So obviously you want to control the way you grow. You don't want to grow too fast, but where do you see yourself in 5 years' time?
Oh, wow, that's a good question. In 5 years' time, I see us building out our own kitchen so that we're not renting from commercial kitchens anymore, and that we can hire on more people to process the broth exactly the way that my mother's been doing it. So it's not necessarily a co-packing situation, but really a collaborative kitchen situation where we own our own kitchen. We can possibly get to the point of getting the licensing for wholesale and slowly growing in that direction. I would say, over the next 2 years, we just want to see, we saw the business double in sales from last year. So we would like to continue to see that grow again, double again this year. And that slow process, slow and steady wins the race for us. And we don't want to get to the point where we have to compromise the product. So in 5 years' time, if we can be in our own space, with our own commercial kitchen and all of our, own equipment. Like right now, we're starting to buy more equipment in our packaging to make it more efficient and easier on us and easier on, the whole family to, be able to see this baby grow a little bit more would be ideal. So
excellent. I mean, there's a selfish connotation to the things I'm asking, because I'm going to come on. Are you going to export? Do you have plans to export at all?
So we've had a few people, ask us about that. It's challenging because we have a frozen product, and so to ship it further is, even to ship to California from Michigan, it can be a little bit more pricey, obviously, and you're shipping with a lot of dry ice, and so we're trying to also figure out ways of being more environmentally, trying to find ways of making sure that we are environmentally conscious of what we're doing, and also, the product itself is frozen, and we don't want to have to shelf stabilize it because that does take away from the quality of it. We're trying to make real food, real healthy food, fast food, not necessarily throwing it on a shelf, and saying that it's really super healthy for you when it's either irradiated or cooked at very high temperatures to package that way. So we sort of want to really stick to our guns here, but eventually, maybe we'll grow into different lines of broth, or, I know a lot of people are dehydrating broth now and stuff like that. We haven't really looked into the science behind what that actually does to the broth, so I don't know enough about that. But I think slowly we'll grow the line of, broths in general. I know my mother has a few ideas of other broths that help different ailments in the body that she would like to grow the business in product. So
that was my next question. Do you have sort of new products coming up? I mean, you've answered that now anyway, so that's brilliant.
Yeah, I mean, so we originally started with the just chicken and beef together combined, and then we just came out with a just chicken broth. And we definitely want to experiment with, you know, some thyme or different rosemary, and, you know, seeing different things that do have other health benefits for different ailments of the body. And then, you know, my mother does have a few other recipes up her sleeve that she would like to see come into fruition. But one step at a time of, you know, we've sort of grown this one product, and then we put another product, the chicken broth, on the market, and that's been starting to sell and do well. So, you know, as that happens, you know, we want to kind of add to that as well. So
I have a question. It may be silly, but would your product be, how do you say, good for babies or toddlers?
Yes, very good for babies. I have a few people that, first of all, we've talked to a lot of acupuncturists and doulas who have told us that it's really good for, even when you're trying to get pregnant, it's really good for building blood. And then once you are pregnant, I've had a few people come to us that their doctors have told them to get on bone broth, because if the amniotic fluid is low, it can help that also build up again throughout the pregnancy. Also, when you're pregnant, the baby is, and even after postpartum, the baby is leaching a lot of calcium from the mother's body. So replacing that calcium throughout the process is really, really good for the mother. I've had a few new moms that have told me that it's helped them through their postpartum, it's really good for the breast milk, the nutrients that go into the breast milk. And then when a baby's like around 6 months or so, it's really good for the digestive lining to really get strong. So we have a lot of people that, you know, don't give them a lot necessarily. They'll put a few like ice cube trays of bone broth in the freezer, and then start to give them, you know, a few of those, heat up at a time. But it can be really great, and it just is really helpful for all digestive issues in general. So, you know, especially today, there's so many people with Crohn's or colitis or leaky gut. So anything that you can help the gut and the entire system from a younger age and strengthening that, I think bone broth really does help that. And there's a lot more stuff coming out about that. You know, obviously bone broth is a newer thing that people are understanding about, so there's not a ton of research yet, but I know that it is really great for building the digestive tract for kids.
Super job. Now, you were very quick showing the packet before. I didn't quite see it. Can you hold it up for a bit longer this time?
Yes, absolutely. So this, let me just make sure it doesn't kind of hit the sun that way too much. Hold on. So this is the pouch. You can see that okay?
Yeah.
So this is the pouch. This is our packaging. This is a photo that my mother actually took once of the broth itself in the pot. Then when we first started making it, not in our, larger pots.
A real mixture of vegetables there, yeah.
Yes, it was a beautiful photo, and we ended up using it for our packaging. And so this is all the
nutritional information on the back.
Information there. I don't know if you can see that. But that's all on our website as well, on BrothMasters.com. If you just click on the Buy Bone Broth, where the product page is, you can see all the nutrition facts on the website as well. And again, these do come frozen. So this one's frozen solid. And they're good for up to a year in the freezer, and then up to 7 days in the refrigerator once they're defrosted. So, and very easy to just I just throw it in the refrigerator the night before if I want to eat it the next day, or I'll just run it under hot water till it can pop out of this pouch, and then throw it into a pan. These are resealable, so if you didn't drink the whole thing, you could throw it back in there and reseal it.
Super job. Yeah. Excellent.
Super easy. 16 ounces in each pouch, and they go for $10 per pouch. And then as the packages get larger, like a 10-pack, 15-pack, 20-pack, 30-pack, they start to decrease in price. And then we also have subscriptions, which take it down to about $9 per pouch and free shipping as well.
Excellent. Excellent. Super job. So you better remind us of your website again.
Sorry?
You better remind us of your website.
Yes.
Then.
The website again is BrothMasters.com. That's BrothMasters with an S at the end. BrothMasters.com. And then you can follow us on Instagram and Facebook also at BrothMasters.
Excellent. Excellent.
Yeah.
Well, that's everything from my side. Alan, anything more from you?
No.
Notice you're fighting a kitty off to one side there.
Yeah, she was sitting right next to me. She wanted to start.
She wanted to get in on it.
She wanted to get on the keyboard. You know how they like to lay on the keyboard.
Oh yes. Oh yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, ready for closing?
We are indeed.
Okay. Here we go. Thank you again, Laya, for being on the Low Carb Paleo show. And as we say in Texas, à votre santé, y'all.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. This was a great to talk to you guys and just chat about bone broth. And thank you for having me.
It was our pleasure. So since I'm having trouble with that my mail, I'm not sure how